I want the projects to look like those people. I want their friends to walk in and be like, oh my gosh, this just like looks like you guys. Like, this is your house. Sometimes people have an Instagram with just images that they've collected, and I can scan through that and see the common patterns. I'm paying attention to people and how they're responding, like if we're looking for artwork. One of my big things is the house. As I'm paying attention to what people like, I'm really paying attention to their homes. I just like the remodeling projects to be respectful of the house they belong in. I always say that like I have an opinion, the client has an opinion, the house has an opinion.
We're here in Wauwatosa with Molly Catlin to talk about her business. We've had the pleasure of working with her on a wonderful job and look forward to learning more about her business and her background.
Okay.
So we were back talking about Wauwatosa in general. And I think that before we were doing the master suite conversion where we would the back of the bungalow off, put in a dormer and then a little closet and a nice space to fit a king bed. And I was commenting that I haven't seen as many of those projects now, but you said that that is, again, becoming a really popular project in this neighborhood.
Well, I think that Wauwatosa, I think we're just going to see more and more of people wanting to stay in their homes and trying to creatively figure out ways to make their homes fit their lives. And maybe they're growing families or just the different needs that they have.
Are you talking about because of interest rates?
Maybe partly, and maybe just because they love their neighbors and their neighborhood, or they love the bones of their house. So
what started out as a starter home, the whole group is now aging, you know, as a community, as the values of the homes go up, the remodeling happens, and everyone's lifted together as a neighborhood.
Probably, and it's probably more financially worth it too. If home values go up, it makes more sense sometimes to remodel where you are.
Yeah.
I think that's a decision people make personally based on kind of how long they've been there and what their goals are. But especially if the house, if someone loves their house and if the main parts of the house, scale-wise, make sense for having more bedrooms or more bathrooms, if the main, like the living room and the kitchen are all big enough to support that, I think sometimes that's a great decision for people.
I've always said that our business has evolved and we're no longer in just the shelter industry, that we are sort of providing a luxury service. And we've evolved past just repairs and maintenance and building a functional space. And that in Milwaukee, that can be a little bit of an issue because of our Germanic past, that people are very cognizant of the value of their home and their home as an investment.
Absolutely.
Whereas on the coast, people's homes are not necessarily an investment and they appreciate so quickly that it doesn't really matter how much money you spend on it. And for people like us, I won't necessarily speak for your business, but for our business, it is a luxury item and it's about the enjoyment. We can't sell you on it being a return. We can sell you on it being the best quality, on time, on budget, and a great experience. But at the end of the day, installing $150 a square foot tile it's not an investment. It's an investment in your happiness.
Absolutely.
So have you bumped up against that, or are most of your clients forward thinking enough that they really understand that this is not an investment, that it's an investment in their happiness?
I think a combination. I think I see a real combination, and the part of my job is to figure out what people's goals are with that, so that I'm making sure I'm showing them selections. And I have very frank conversations with people regarding the bid they have and the allowances and what allowances even mean. That an allowance is a general guide as to what the contractor has been seeing people spend. They can spend more, they can spend less. And sometimes on a project, I'll ask people, is there something somewhere that they want to spend more? Like maybe there's some specific part that they just really love that touches them, that they want in their home, and that's somewhere they'll spend more, and then maybe be conservative with some other selections. So I see that a lot, where I have this kind of little thing I tell people, not everything is supposed to be the leading actor or actress, the leading actor. We don't need every selection to be the leading actor, but maybe there's something like their lighting, or maybe their tile that's the leading actor, and then we have supporting actors. And that's kind of an analogy I use, that I like it when I come into a room and maybe I notice one thing, but then as I sit there longer, I notice something else. It's those layers kind of evolve as you spend time in a space.
And that's part of great design, though. If you can create a space with affordable materials where there are pops of brilliance or of very luxurious materials and surround those by materials that don't distract, then you've done your job. Do you find that builders are putting appropriate allowances in? Because I've found that at our firm, sometimes we put appropriate allowances in based on clients, but we'll lose a project because people are scared of the allowance, but then they will actually see that that allowance is correct down the road and maybe they should have hired us.
I spend a lot of time trying to explain that to people, hence the whole conversation of what is an allowance.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are getting multiple bids and it's not apples to apples.
It never is.
It's never apples to apples. And again, the allowances are guide to what people maybe have been spending with that contractor, but what does it mean, really? I think that's something I'm always trying to explain. I hope I do a good job of explaining that to people because ultimately they need to pick a contractor that they're comfortable with and they trust in a relationship that's going to work for them. And when we go out sourcing, that's when they kind of figure out how they want their allowances to work and what they want to source. Like I'm seeing a lot of people decide to spend a little bit more on things like natural stone.
Yep.
That for me, in kitchens, I think specifically in kitchens, a lot of times is a signature element. And sometimes we'll design a kitchen around that natural stone. But oftentimes when I'm helping people through that selection process and the creative process of figuring that out, we might pick out a couple of options that they like. And then when they get the numbers back, they can decide what's worth it to them. So a little bit of an evolving process there.
Do you think that we've always been a big proponent of having the interior designer, the builder, and the architect selected at the beginning of the project so that we can come up with these together so that we're not in this situation where we're not comparing apples to apples, that we have an interior finish schedule, that we have a detailed plan that spells out absolutely everything, that the casework and millwork package are designed so that we're not, even if a client decides not to go with us, at least the bid was apples to apples.
Right.
And you have to have the interior designer and the architect on board at the same time, not bringing the interior designer in after the drywall is already
up. Which is lovely for so many reasons. My goal, like my ideal situation is really to meet people when they're at that creative process of reviewing plans with their architect and giving ideas for revisions, if not even before that.
I want you in before that.
Even if not before that. I mean, sometimes I'm the first person. I have a lot of clients who've known me for years. And so I might be the first person they reach out to when they're considering a remodel project. So a lot of times I'm in there first. Sometimes I'm not there first, but in an ideal world, we're doing all of the selections, figuring out those financial aspects and the creative process before demo.
Yeah, 100%.
I really like, because once it gets near to demo, people, honestly, with the projects I work on, which are typically remodels of older homes, people have a lot of work to do to get their families and their home ready for the remodeling project. And it's really nice if we have the selections secured. I kind of compare it to wedding planning.
Yeah.
Like if we can get, it doesn't have to be everything, but a lot of the main selections figured out before that. I just feel like people go into it feeling so much better. They're not as stressed because they know where they're going with everything. And then they can kind of like tackle the creative process, tackle the selections, then tackle getting their house ready. And sometimes they're moving out. Oftentimes people are.
That's our
with
favorite.
the big projects they're moving out. Right. So it's a lot for a family to take on. So,
100%.
and it doesn't have to be every single aspect of the project, but like top style plumbing. To me, that's like the
big spend.
That's like for a wedding, that's like the hall, the caterer, the band.
Sure.
We can get those big things tackled. We don't have to know the exact, cabinet color yet, but I feel like that really helps people a lot. That's my ideal situation.
Now, when clients come to you, are you able to provide drafting services, or you do construction and soft goods and no drafting, or do you offer drafting?
So I don't offer drafting. So my projects 100% of the time typically have an architect involved. And I will sit with my clients and look at the architectural plans and sketch on them and talk that through, but they typically don't need me to draft because they already have an architect.
Sure.
So I'm not doing that part.
So you're doing soft goods and construction.
Yep.
And are you involved throughout the entire construction project?
Yes.
Through administration? And so how does your typical engagement work?
So I usually like to start with a phone chat. If I already know people, then we just meet at their house. And sometimes if they have their plans, we'll meet at their house, and it gives me a chance to get to know them, to see their plans, to see the house. It's usually like an hour to an hour and a half visit for me to get a grasp of the space and to get a sense of their timeline and their goals. And I'm really taking a lot of mental notes during those meetings.
Sure.
I learn a lot about what people need just from like paying attention to their house, and like I can see what they're interested in, what their style is. Because ultimately I want the projects to look like those people. I want their friends to walk in and be like, oh my gosh, this just like looks like you guys. Like this is your house. This looks like that couple. Or like, I love it if I do a bathroom or a powder room and it just looks like the owner. So that's where I start, with kind of like that in-home consultation. And then
that's complimentary, or
no, I charge for my time. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I charge an hourly fee for my time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's because I give people a lot of my time and attention and skills. No,
I think
absolutely.
you should be charging for your
and
time.
my creative energy in that meeting. Sometimes people have an architectural plan, but they might not even know that they can revise that.
Yeah.
So we'll hop right in there at that point and ask them like, oh, what is this room for? What are you going to do there? What are your goals for this space? I'd like to know if they have children, how many children or dogs, like who's living here? What do they want to accomplish? And why are they doing their renovation project? You know, sometimes people have had life changes that is like moving them towards that.
Sure.
And I want to know so that I can help design it for who they need to be or where they're going.
Now, do you encourage people prior to meeting to come up with a program, a budget, and an idea book of some type, whether it be on Houzz or Pinterest or Instagram, or even if you're old, clipping from Architectural Digest?
Sure, absolutely. But if they don't have that, it's okay.
Okay.
If they don't,
do you have a questionnaire, or how do you coax that out of people?
I ask people a lot of questions.
Okay.
And sometimes people will tell me, Molly, I don't know what my personal style is. I'm not sure, but I actually can figure it out. Or
those people
from
really
talking
need
to
help.
them. Right, and also sometimes people have an Instagram with just images that they've collected of things they love. And I can scan through that and see the common patterns.
Okay.
And see what they like. And maybe they don't even see it.
Yeah.
But I see what it looks like. Because sometimes they don't realize that they're continuously drawn to similar things. But glancing through, I can see that. But also when I'm sourcing with people, because especially when we're going to look at the slabs, that is a situation where the client needs to be there. Because these are massive pieces of stone that in order to see the movement through them, and if it's for a big island, I can't bring that sample to someone's house, right? I'm paying attention to people and how they're responding. Like if we're looking for artwork, like I can tell from like just even what their faces look like and their expressions, what they're drawn to.
Sure.
And I'll tell people, please, tell me what you're thinking. Like, tell me what you're drawn to, what you're attracted to. And people will often be attracted to similar things and they don't even realize that, maybe there were 3 slabs that they were drawn to, but they all had like kind of similar movement or similar colors. And we talk that all through. Or they're always attracted to things that are polished or honed.
Are you usually presenting one mood board, or you're providing multiples and they're involved collaboratively, or how does that process work?
I would say my process is more collaborative because again, like I when I'm doing a big stone like that, I like to take people and then from there tile sourcing to go with that selection.
So what's the first thing the first thing is those major 3. So you're gonna, if you're in a kitchen, you're picking the stone first, and that will influence the color of the cabinetry, which will influence the tile, which will influence the flooring, and then the lighting.
Often, but it doesn't have to go that way.
Okay.
So like sometimes I'll have a project where someone has a certain kind of tile look they want for their floor, and then that would be the signature element.
Okay.
So it really depends on what I'm hearing from them. But oftentimes my first sourcing day is plumbing, taps, and tile.
Okay.
And bringing all of that together.
And 100% of your practice is hourly.
Right.
It's not per job, or so people can take as long as they want or as little time as they want. If they're cooperative, they can get it smaller.
No, and I feel like that's so different. Some people try on 100 wedding dresses. Some people go in and they know exactly what they want and they try on 3.
Or they love
I
your
feel like it's
taste and
super
have no
personal.
clue what they want.
Absolutely. And I do actually, anyone who reaches out to me that hasn't met me before, I do send them like the link to my Instagram. I
Sure.
think it gives people a sense of the kind of work that I do. Like, I think you can tell from looking at it that I typically work in older homes and that the projects don't all look the same. They all look different. But it's always fun for me when someone knows a lot of my clients and they're like, oh, that looks like the so-and-sos. You know, you can tell like what family belongs with what house. Like, that makes me happy.
So you would say that you don't have a personal style that finds its way into every project, or you do?
Oh, I think I do.
And what can you describe it in
There's
words?
elements that people will say, like I've had people reach out to me and say, oh, this house was on the market. I went to look at it and I can tell you where they are.
And what is it? Can you put your finger on it?
I think it's the layers.
Okay.
I think it's the layers. I think it's the lighting. I think it might be that the remodel goes with the house. And really one of my big things is the house. And I guess I haven't really talked to you about that, but as I'm paying attention to what people like, I'm really paying attention to their homes.
Okay.
Like, I have this kind of huge thing with older homes that I just like the remodeling projects to be respectful of the house they belong in.
Yes.
I don't want to go through a house and then enter a zone that feels like it came from somewhere else. It's like kind of like a personal bias of mine, maybe from going on a lot of old home tours and just from working 100%. On my own house. So I always say that like I have an opinion, the client has an opinion, the house has an opinion, and somehow we have to like bring all that together. I like a little bling. I like a little bit of like some moody spaces and some brighter spaces. So there's like elements of me that people pick out. But I don't think that if anyone looked at my work, they would feel like everything all like kind of looks very similar.
You're not getting Joanna Gaines one.
No, not at all. Yeah. So if that's what someone's looking for, I might not even be the right fit.
100%. We're not the right fit either.
Right. And like I say that about wallpaper to people when we're picking out wallpaper, I feel like we're picking out artwork, and that artwork is very specific to that client. And just because I did a wallpaper in one person's house, I probably would never use it again because that like belongs to this person. Do you know what I mean?
We've had that conversation.
So I don't repeat myself a lot. And actually a lot of my vendors say that to me. When I say my vendors, or like the people who do work for me, that's like the people who install my custom textiles and the people who install my custom rugs and all that. They always say that that's one of the things is my projects don't look the same.
You would not realize how many times we have this conversation with interior designers that they really feel that the project is the intellectual property then of the person who owns the home, and they will not repeat it.
I honestly feel like that. And it's one of the reasons why if people reach out to me, I'm careful about that, because I really do feel like when someone takes the time to work with me through this creative process, because I think it is fair to say I'm super collaborative. I feel like that was for them. And I'm not saying that someone in Whitefish Bay and someone in Shorewood or Tosa might have the same cocktail table, but it's used in a totally different way and they don't know each other. My business is, I kind of think of it like a tree of people who know each other. Like, I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years and usually someone knows me somehow.
Sure. It's Milwaukee. There's only 1 degree of separation between anyone who
small
can
Milwaukee.
Afford our,
Small Milwaukee. Like my grandparents were all from here, right? And I've lived in Tosa since 2001 and my kids are all in the schools. But I do a lot of work on the North Shore. You know, the contractor gave my name to them, or their neighbors with someone I know, or right. It's like this. And so I am super careful about trying not to repeat things.
I'm wallpapering my powder room right now.
Oh, you are?
And
good for you. Good job.
Little
jewelry box.
Yeah, little jewelry box. And that's totally. My favorite.
Little jewelry box.
And it just needed a little bit of a refresh. And I went to our wallpaper, who wallpapers most of the North Shore. I have very specific wallpaper and it's very expensive. And I wanted to make sure that he hasn't installed that wallpaper somewhere else.
That was a super good idea. You can see my powder room over there. Glancing at, right? And I hope no one else has, I don't think anyone else has my wallpaper either. That's the thing about wallpaper too, is that someone can love a wallpaper, but it might not be right for that space for various reasons, right?
We get a lot of clients who still have bad dreams about 90s wallpaper.
Seriously.
And I try to explain to them that
such a
heirloom quality wallpaper has been around. And we've been installing it our entire career.
Right.
And I've only been doing this 20 years. I'm a young guy. But I mean, it'll be rare, but we'll have people who will do Gracie Studios or DeGournay or something like that. Now we see a resurgence in wallpaper, but I'm always careful with everything we do that everything is heirloom quality because I don't want to ever come back for the same room. Do you find that people want to chase a trend mostly and you're pulling them back from that?
If someone has seen something on their Instagram multiple times, sometimes they like it because they've gotten used to it and they're comfortable with it. And so I am happy to see what they are comfortable with and what they're drawn to. And then what I do is I can use that for inspiration to be like, okay, now let's find something that's unique to you.
Yeah.
Because if it's been on all these places and millions of people are seeing it, that also dates it.
Yeah, but there's timeless stuff too that's overdone.
Sometimes,
I mean, like the Scalamandre zebras are timeless, but maybe it's been done too many times.
I feel like if we're seeing something a lot, there's so many options out there. I mean, the options are endless.
Yeah.
And so if I'm seeing something multiple times a week on my feed, I'm really encourage someone to step outside the box and just go a little deeper.
Yeah.
It's a good inspiration though.
Yeah.
It's super helpful for inspiration. I just also do think if we see something a ton, it does kind of date it.
We went through the process. Everything is billed hourly.
Yeah.
Sourcing of materials, is that cost plus or is that hourly at net? How should someone expect that to be billed?
So I'm never functioning as a general contractor. I really do talk to everyone about that and make sure they understand kind of, especially if they haven't done a remodeling project before, this is the different relationships. You have your architect, you have your general contractor, and I'm separate. I'm an independent person that's being brought in. I have an hourly fee. So I charge my hourly fee for my time. Except for I typically am sourcing the lighting and any of the soft goods or cushions or window treatments, absolutely all of that. But the tile, the countertops, the cabinets are all going through the general contractor and not me because I'm not the general contractor.
So you're supplying lighting, you're supplying soft goods.
Sure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Not plumbing fixtures.
Not plumbing fixtures. That's with the projects I've been on, the contractors I work, that's all going through the contractor. So ultimately I am guiding people through this creative process and logistical process of coming up with a vision for their project and making all these selections, but ultimately they are signing off on those selections with their contractor.
Sure.
And of course I'm involved in that, double checking information.
As an owner's rep. Yeah.
Right. But ultimately it's getting signed off on through their contractor because the contractor is the purchaser.
Sure. Now, are you sourcing for, when we're talking about furniture after the construction process is over, are you sourcing mostly newly made stuff from catalogs? Is most of your stuff bespoke? Are you looking at antiques? Where are most of your products coming from?
I have relationships with furniture manufacturers. So I am typically buying for upholstered items, custom upholstered furniture. I am buying from companies that make furniture in the United States, like in North Carolina. I have relationships that I buy directly from. And that's something I always have to explain as well, that I don't physically have a store, but that's how I function. I have all those relationships. I buy directly from manufacturers. And then for what I call like case goods, stock items, like a cocktail table or something that might not be custom, I can do custom for that as well. Like when someone looks at my Instagram, most of the pictures I take are typically shots where really all of that has been sourced through my business. But that being said, I really do like rooms to have layers. And so if people have items, in fact, if you even look at my own living room here, there's layers of things from maybe from my family from the past or items I had from a different house. I do like to layer those items in if we can find a way to work with them that the client likes, because I just like things to have a feel. They were gathered over time.
So most of your stuff though is new. It's not, you're not going to auction with clients or.
I have. I have. I'm not typically doing that with every client.
You're not first dibs buying stuff for the hold and then.
Not typically. But I can. Like I definitely have helped clients buy antique pieces for their house. Absolutely. That's not typically what I'm always doing, but I absolutely can. Because there are clients that's what they want to do.
Yeah. I mean,
or situations.
It's fallen out of favor in the last 5 to 10 years. Sort of the antique market has taken a dive value wise. I was just having a conversation about rugs and how antique rugs, these rugs take sometimes years of people's lives to create, and they now have at auction sell for next to nothing. And how it's a shame, A, but B, they've just fallen out of favor. I'm snapping them all up for my house.
But that being said, I have a great rep for antique rugs and I do use them. And I have had some projects in really older homes where we have sourced even sometimes some real distressed antique rugs intentionally because maybe they have 3 dogs and that's the look we're going for. Or sometimes just a distressed antique rug is just the right runner in a kitchen.
Yep.
And they just live with it. So I do that.
You're not necessarily formally trained in this. You discovered that you were interested as a kid and then came back to this as a second career?
I think I didn't really know that I was interested as a kid. Now I understand that I was. Like, I was that person where my friends were always like, Molly, how do I move my furniture? Like, what should my house look like? But this is a second career for me. I was a speech pathologist, so I went to UW-Madison for undergrad and graduate school. So I have a master's degree in ComDis, and I worked for 23 years as a speech pathologist, but I've had my business for 10. I overlapped them.
Oh, it overlaps. So
I did. I overlapped.
I was going to say you don't look that old, but...
No, thank you. That's so kind of you. I did overlap them. Our first house was a 1920s bungalow, and we totally redid that. Stayed there for about 8 years, and then we bought this house, which this house has been an education. I had no idea when we bought this house what we were getting into. I really didn't understand. I've learned so much. I don't know that anyone would have known what we were getting into. It just needed so much work. We had 5 dumpsters. I guess 5 major remodeling projects.
Yeah.
And so it's been a passion project, I guess.
Is this your forever home?
I don't know that I believe in a forever home per se.
Okay.
I'm definitely like stay a good long time. I want my children to have that sense of place.
Yep.
But when we bought this house, I had a 4-year-old and an 18-month-old, and now I have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 13-year-old.
So being a mom, do you think that helps inform how you interact with clients?
It's so huge.
Okay. Talk a little bit more about that.
It's huge. And that's why I like to know. I feel like sometimes I'm telling people that I'm not being nosy. I really ask a lot of questions about their family because it tells me so much about where they're headed.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of young families and
performance fabrics and
everything from performance fabrics to when you're standing in this room, do you want to be able to see the kids eating in this room?
Sure.
Like, there's so many things that I did to this house to make it work for my modern life. Like, for example, we have laundry on the second floor.
Yep.
That is huge for me.
It's essential. We do it on almost every project.
Oh my gosh, it's huge. But I did it a long time ago. I mean, I did it 12 years ago.
Yep.
13 years ago. I didn't really know. I mean,
that was just the start of that.
It was the start of it. I know, not that I'm like, oh, amazing or anything, but the work of going up and down, and then you have laundry everywhere in your house because you're constantly carrying baskets and folding, where I have this little room. It's next to my kid's bathroom. I can be doing kind of like I don't anymore, but I could be doing nighttime routine and throwing in a load and folding it, and then everyone has their pile on the counter. I mean, the workload that took off me was huge.
Yep, ready to
load.
Like
all those things of knowing if people entertain. And sometimes I have a sense of where people are going and maybe they don't know yet where they're going. And just from asking them questions and seeing their kids and kind of seeing where they're headed, I have a sense of this is what their life might look like. Like, I know all those little shoes sometimes are going to be like a size 14 shoe.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like all those things. And I think sometimes when we're so in it, like for my kid's bathroom, I almost got a regular size toilet instead of a comfort height toilet.
Yep.
I had to think, okay, wait, we're going to be in this little place for it's so short, really, when it comes to remodeling, and something that's going to be in your home for a really good long time. Like, you want it to work when they're little, but you also they change so quick.
We just got done with my sisters.
So quick.
I just got my little niece the American Standard baby toilet. So
which is so cute.
She's gonna. It's expensive to change. She's gonna have 3 toilets throughout her life.
And good for her, right?
Yeah.
But definitely
she's
something to think about.
A builder's niece.
Right.
Aside from family and pets, what other big considerations go into your evaluation of a space?
Sure, being resourceful. So, what makes something efficient?
Okay.
I guess efficiency of our movement and efficiency of space. And also, I also pay attention to how tall people are, because I'm pretty tall and I can reach things that other people wouldn't be able to reach. And I know when I was working with an architect, I was constantly telling them, but remember, I'm tall.
Yeah.
I can reach that. That's functional space for me. So everything from how tall people are. So a lot of efficiency of space and efficiency of movement, because sometimes bigger is not better. Designing so that we're putting the right materials in for just durability, or what's going to be easier to clean. Oh my gosh, cleaning.
Yeah.
What's easier to clean and take care of, with pets.
So when we're done with projects, we learned an unfortunate and very valuable lesson about 3 years ago.
Really?
We had a client who had a housekeeper who used the wrong cleaning on marble.
Absolutely. That's a huge one.
Destroyed it.
That's,
she used
I'm
toilet
always,
bowl cleaner on marble.
oh my gosh.
It was destroyed.
Yes. And it has to be pH neutral. If that doesn't fit you and your lifestyle, this isn't the right place for it. So that's a huge thing of figuring out what materials should go in what places for how people live. I can make everything beautiful, but if it's not functional, you're not going to be happy. So let's make it functional. Like, let's conquer the function. Let's conquer how you live and making this work for your family and your lifestyle, because we can make everything beautiful.
Is quartz dead?
Does that make sense? No,
Okay.
It's not. I sometimes will even use like a signature stone on an island and then pair maybe a very quiet supporting actor quartz on the periphery.
Because you can get it honed now? Is that the reason? Because
right, it's not as shiny.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works as a really good supporting actor. The big thing is that the quartz can never look like it's trying to be the natural stone with those layers. It's like those layers have to like work out to be just right. And then in bathrooms, a lot of times quartz can be really nice. Sometimes we will use it on the threshold or in the niche.
Yeah.
And that can be super functional for people.
Let's talk about value proposition for a second.
Okay.
As a builder, we have a very low margin, around 8%.
Okay.
Net.
Interesting.
And people don't realize that.
No.
But what has been important for us is some people will say, I can GC this project and save a ton of money. By the time they make the mistakes, by the time they don't get the same pricing that we do, just for example, the remnants you were talking about,
all that stuff,
and all that stuff, they're not going to get the same trade pricing. Subcontractors are going to price in having to deal with a homeowner versus a builder.
Right.
How does that translate over to being an interior designer?
I think it depends a little bit on the client and how they value their time. Okay. Right. Because I think people value their time differently depending on their own life experiences and maybe what they do for a living.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that being said, the amount of time people save when they work with me, it must just be tremendous.
Yeah.
Because I can take someone through plumbing, taps, and tile in a day.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that they have fun. Usually I'm always asking people, like, are you having fun yet? I'm watching to make sure that people are, no, because I want it to be fun.
You've got the VOOV in your purse.
Right. And I'm always telling people, like, the thing about a creative process is there might be times where you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And some people can relate to that from their work. And then some people have jobs that are like kind of very linear and aren't like that so much. But design work and picking things out, they have to like it all. And they're in on that creative process.
Yeah.
And there might be times that they do feel uncomfortable, but that's okay because it's not necessarily linear. Sometimes it circles around a little bit. But I think they can see as we're working that we get where we're going. But we get where we're going so much more efficiently than if someone is on their own.
Do you have a demographic that you work best with?
I have a lot of clients who are also retired because I have families where I've worked with maybe all 3 kids in the family and the parents.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of families.
What is your favorite restaurant?
Oh my gosh. Probably one of my go-to restaurants is La Rev in the Village in Tulsa. My son used to work there.
I like La Rev.
I feel like I can just pop in there and I'm like a little bit of somewhere else.
Molly, thank you for taking time out of your day to share.
Thank you. It was so fun talking to you.
Yes.
I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.